What's up, Taiwan? I'm Reece with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. The Taiwan People's Party has a new leader. Acting Chair Kuo-chang will take over as the influential third party's new head. Huang has more.
A new dawn for the Taiwan People's Party. Acting Chair Kuo-chang will be their new leader, taking up the helm from party founder Kuo-chang, who is detained under corruption charges. Huang had taken over as acting chair after Kuo stepped down in January and officially won the position on Saturday in a race against former legislator Tsai Bi-ru, winning over 96% of the vote. In a post on Facebook, Huang thanked the party and shared his vision as he rounds out the remaining 2 years of Kuo's term, saying he hoped the party would remain a progressive local party and making it one that society truly needs. He continued to refer to Kuo as chair and urged the party to make their detained founder proud. Kuo was the party's candidate in Taiwan's 2024 presidential election. But the TPP's future was thrown into uncertainty when founder Kuo was detained on suspicion of embezzling political funds and taking bribes in a construction project when he was Taipei mayor. New chair Huang also serves as the party's caucus whip in the legislature, and he's close with Kuo, publicly rallying for his release. Kuo endorsed Huang for the chair position. Now the party is preparing to move forward.
今天开票之后，我们的秘书长周瑜修就已经跟我们的代理主席黄国昌提出总辞。2月19号中央委员会正式通过新任党主席的名单之后，那我们就尊重新任党主席的这个人选的这个参考跟意见。
The Taiwan People's Party plays a key role in the legislature, making the deciding votes on policy, often teaming up with the main opposition Kuomintang. And it remains an important third force in Taiwan's politics. Whether the party can keep working to fulfill its founder's mission now remains up to its new chair to play the right cards. Andy Xue and Tiffany Wang for TaiwanPlus.
The families of people who died in a department store explosion in Taichung will receive more than $300,000 in compensation from the company that manages the chain.
星光三月这边也提供1100万。 为补偿金，1100万为补偿金。我们希望跟罹难者的家属一起度过这个难关。
The explosion on Thursday killed 4 people. The company is also providing counseling and paid leave to 305 of its employees. Taichung prosecutors are still investigating the case and have not ruled out manslaughter charges. 16 people have been summoned to give testimony. Tense meetings at the Munich Security Conference are revealing stark differences in how the US and Europe plan to end the war in Ukraine. European leaders are set to meet in Paris next week for an emergency summit, while the US and Russia are planning talks in Saudi Arabia. A clear rift between Europe and the US is emerging, with fundamental differences over global security threatening to soil this once unshakable relationship. And stuck in the middle of it all, Ukraine.
This war cannot be decided by just a few leaders, not by Trump and Putin, not by me and Putin, not by anyone here in Munich sitting down with Putin alone. We must apply pressure together to make real peace.
Before it's even over, European leaders at the Munich Security Conference this weekend have reportedly agreed to an emergency summit in Paris to discuss strategies for ending the war in Ukraine, after it became clear that Europe and the United States have very different ideas on how to pursue peace, with a US-led approach suggesting ceding Ukrainian land to Russia, something Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has previously said he'd consider.
To me, there's going to have to be things like territorial concessions as well, okay?
But European leaders say any peace talks need to include all partners in the region.
That we made clear there will not be any peace in Europe if it's not a European peace.
And the US-Europe relationship is at risk of souring further still, with Reuters now citing several sources saying US President Donald Trump will meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Saudi Arabia for talks this week, Trump has said Ukraine can also attend, but Zelensky says he's yet to receive an invitation. And with other European and G7 nations also excluded, it's raising concerns for global security.
But there was a clear understanding that we need to make sure that Ukrainian voices are at the table, that Europe and Canada is at the table, because ultimately it is also about Ukraine's security, but it's also about the Euro-Atlantic security.
These recent differences in opinion are forcing many nations, including Ukraine, to consider whether Europe has become too reliant on the US for defense support, with Zelensky now calling for Europe to unite.
I really believe that time has come. The armed forces of Europe must be created.
It's set to be a busy week ahead for international relations. And as Europe and the US each push forward with differing paths to peace, Ukraine may be forced to decide whose table they'll want to sit at. Kamashu and Reece for TaiwanPlus. The US State Department has updated its description of US-Taiwan ties on its website. The bilateral relations fact sheet removed wording which had said that the US does not support Taiwan independence. The new language also addresses China's claim over Taiwan. The State Department added a line that says it expects, quote, cross-strait differences to be resolved by peaceful means, free from coercion, in a manner acceptable to people on both sides of the strait. A Taiwan-based scientist is in Antarctica, studying how a tiny wingless insect is able to survive freezing temperatures. At only about ½ centimetre long, it's the largest fully terrestrial species native to the continent. For more on his work on this mighty midge and the significance of Antarctic research, Wesley Lewis spoke with National Taiwan University Associate Professor of Entomology, Matan Shalomi.
Could you tell me more about the insect species you're studying in Antarctica? What are you trying to find out about it?
Even though Antarctica is so huge, there's only really one insect that's native to the continent itself and not also found on some of the other islands. And it's a tiny little fly with no wings, so it can't even fly, called Belgica antarctica. They're only about maybe 1 millimeter thick and ½ centimeter long when they're at maximum size, and that's the larva. The adults are even tinier. Nonetheless, they are technically the largest terrestrial animal in Antarctica because they can't swim, unlike the penguin. So one thing I'm here to do is to try to figure out a little bit more about how it's able to survive the cold. My hypothesis is that it might have some relationship with ice-nucleating bacteria. Now, those are bacteria which will affect the freezing point of water. We actually use one of these bacteria to make artificial snow. You mix the bacteria with water and the water will freeze at a relatively warm temperature. So I've been down here looking for these little larvae, dissecting them, plating the gut microbes, growing the microbes, and seeing can any of them nucleate ice.
What is the broader significance of this type of research in Antarctica? And what do you plan to bring back from this trip?
These ice-nucleating microbes could be used to control insects in colder temperatures. If you expose insects to these bacteria, they will freeze at a higher temperature. So if you have something that lives in the relatively cold climate and you want it to die, you make it freeze a little bit sooner. Or you could use this on food or rice or whatever that you're storing at a cold temperature. Add ice-nucleating bacteria and things will freeze sooner. I am planning to bring back some of the microbe samples and hopefully describe them, learn more about them, name them if they're a new species. Who knows? We don't know what we might find. I'll bring back DNA samples just so we can get a full picture of the microbiome.
What about Antarctica makes it so important for scientific research?
There's a lot about Antarctica that's really important. A lot of our research on climate change comes here, and Antarctica is experiencing climate change a lot more strongly than other parts of the world. So I think the global climate average has risen by 1.5 degrees Celsius, which is already bad. Here in the peninsula, it's gone up by about 4 degrees Celsius in the same amount of time. So the global average actually means it's a lot higher here in the poles, and it's had a really serious effect on life here. Consider the base that I'm in. Humans have been on this base for decades, and they can see major changes. Penguins are one example. The island where I'm on now used to have very few penguins. Then it had a bunch of Adelie penguins, which like relatively cold climates. And right now there's about 6,000 Gentoo penguins on this little island. They're really cute, but they shouldn't be here. This is supposed to be too cold for the Gentoo penguin. They're not supposed to get this far south, and yet they are everywhere. So Antarctica is a really good example of climate change in action.
That was Matan Shalomi from National Taiwan University discussing scientific research in Antarctica. A group of young children have made a challenging trip by foot across Taiwan's mountainous heartland. Sandy Chi brings us this story about their journey.
Snacks, a pair of sunglasses, a team flag, and she is ready to roll. 12-year-old Li Yan is on a mission. To complete a journey few of her peers have made, traveling hundreds of kilometers by foot, over high mountain passes and across rugged terrain to traverse the width of Taiwan.
我觉得蛮期待，因为是最后一天，希望可以完成。
For the past 3 years, Li has sacrificed part of her winter vacation to take on this challenge. She is not the only one making the trip, but is one of the few that have taken part since it started. The journey begins at National Donghua University in eastern Taiwan and ends at the Galmei wetlands on the west coast. Taking place over 16 days, the route covers around 280 kilometers, with a total elevation gain of over 4,400 meters.
学习的方式有很多啦，有些可能是精神面，那有些可能是实地的来去做一些知识面的学习。对，那像我们这趟旅程其实就有教小朋友许多的学习的知识，包含可能野外求生、环境保育。
教练教我们那个生火，用打火石生火，然后还有那个就是在爬山的时候用看那个离线地图。烧起来了，烧起来！
Beyond teaching them basic survival skills, this project also encourages kids to push themselves to their limits.
For any adult, this journey would be a serious challenge, but these kids are taking it in their stride with the most challenging day covering up to 35 kilometers, walking from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Their coach says that day was the most unforgettable part of the journey. One of the kids had such severe muscle soreness, he was forced to use a wheelchair. But that did not stop the team from going forward.
当时其实小朋友们他们就自发性的，可能两的，大家互相扶持，都是大家肩并着肩，然后一起陪着。 他们各自用自己的方式来陪着队友一起撑过那个比较艰辛的过程，这样。
As the group reached the finish line, parents waited eagerly to congratulate them on their accomplishment. Many expressing how profoundly this experience has affected their children.
从以前呢，就是很多时候，就是毕竟小朋友。 就是在遇到困难的时候，总是会先怀疑自己的能力，但是从他就是这3年来，他对于就是比较困难的东西，他可以慢慢的去调试自己的心态，然后就是慢慢的去接受它，然后甚至觉得说，哎，我可以完成。
我觉得这个活动也可以带给他们，就是学习团体生活，就是不是个人的比赛，而是团体进行的活动，就是学到有同理心啊。
Now their adventure has come to an end. It has been a transformative experience, a journey of growth, courage, and teamwork. Huang and Sandy Chi for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, take a look at this polar bear cub recently born at the Sao Paulo Aquarium in Brazil. I'm Reece. Take care and see you next time.